Hello and welcome back to my poker vlog. This is the second episode and we are at the same home game and still doing a dealer's choice tournament. So let's get to the first hand of the night. For the first interesting hand of the night, I am dealt 6 of hearts, 7 of clubs. And I decide to limp in with everyone else. At this home game, most pots are limp pots, so I feel I can safely get away with this hand. The flop comes 2 of hearts, 5 of spades, jack of clubs, and it checks around to me. And now I choose to start bluffing at it right away. It is a bit ambitious, and I will fold to any raise, but it should weed out a lot of the field, and that's exactly what happens, and now it's down to heads up. The turn is the 3 of hearts, and it checks back around to me again. There is a flush draw out there now, but I'm not worried about it, as my opponent would have bet the flush draw or any other hand that was powerful. So when it checks around to me, I continue betting with a size of 70. Opponent calls again. Now I'm worried. The river is the ace of hearts, but the heart doesn't matter. But the ace definitely could. But when my opponent checks, I feel he is not very strong at all. So I feel that with a big bet, I could get him off a mediocre hand. As any ace would bet, I think, or at least raise me. It ends up working, and my opponent announces I had just a pair of 2s. In this hand, we are doing Omaha, and I am dealt 8 of spades, 9 of spades, 5 of clubs, 3 of clubs. It's an okay hand. Definitely has a lot of potential, so I just call the big blind. So does everyone else. The flop comes 5 of hearts, 6 of spades, queen of clubs. Not the best flop ever for me, but I did hit part of it, but it's not good enough to bet, and too many people are still into bluff. The action checks around, the turn is the 4 of diamonds, and now I have an open-ended straight draw with a draw to the nut straight. If it were to check to me, I would surely bet, but that doesn't happen as early position bets at 30. It would be an interesting play to raise here, but if I miss, I would have to blast off from the river, and I didn't feel like bluff would get through in this spot, so I just call. The river is the best possible card for me, the 7 of hearts, and now I'm sitting here with the nuts just hoping someone bets. And they do. The same player bets 110, and it's on me. I don't want to go too crazy, though, with my raise, so I raise about 1.5 his bet, hoping he will call, but he says my straight is probably better, and he folds. A good fold when he most likely had the second nuts, but it is a pretty obvious what I have here. Here I am dealt 3 of spades, king of clubs, 9 of spades, 6 of clubs, and with being in the big blind, when everyone limps, I choose just to check. The flop comes 7 of clubs, 4 of clubs, 2 of diamonds, and with being in early position, I choose to check, but there is merit in betting the flush draw, but I'm not a fan of doing that in early position, but it ends up checking around. The turn is not what I was expecting, since I didn't even notice that I had a gut shot to the straight, so I definitely should have bet on the flop. Now I have to make up for the lost betting, and I bet out for a size of 50, and the opponent calls. The river is an inconsequential 3, so I continue to bet and go for a size of 100. The opponent folds, and I win. I'm guessing he didn't believe me, but he said if a club came, then I was dead, so I got a bit lucky here. This is going to be the hand of the night right here, as I am dealt a very nice looking 7 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, ace of spades, ace of clubs. Everyone ended up calling the big blind, including me, and I should definitely be raising with this, but again, in this game, most of the time the pots are all limp pots. Anyways, it doesn't matter, as I just destroy this flop of ace of hearts, king of clubs, king of hearts, and I have the supreme nuts here. However, when it checks around to me, any bet here would look way too strong, so I want to disguise the strength of my hand, so I elect to check here. The turn is the 8 of hearts, so now the flush gets there, and my opponent leads for 50. I'm putting him on a flush here, so if I were to raise him, then with the pair board, it would most likely scare him away, so I just call. The river is very interesting, but ultimately shouldn't matter, as is the king of diamonds. But my opponent leads again for 100, so this is a very small bet here, and with me having basically the nuts, only losing to a rogue king, this bet is not enough, so I make it 450. But my opponent goes all in, and I basically snap call since there are so many hands he could do this with now. Any high pairer would think that you have a better full house, as well as he can easily have a nut flush and is trying to scare me off a full house. I assume he has jacks or queens here. But I get the bad news when my opponent announces that he has quads. Not much I can do there, since no matter how I played this hand, all the money was going in. Some might say the quads in Omaha are likely, but if I'm sitting there playing around quads, then I'll be so easy to bluff. Anyways, a super frustrating hand, especially as he got there on the river. But let's just hope the rest of the night goes our way and I don't make any more stops to bloody Pound Town. Here I am dealt the beautiful 10 of clubs, 4 of clubs, and I am on the button, and again I choose just to limp in, and so do most others. The flop comes okay given my hand, and it's the 2 of spades, 4 of spades, queen of hearts. And I at least hit part of it. It checks around to me, and with so many players still in, and just the naked 4, I also check. The turn is beautiful though with the 4 of diamonds, and now I have very disguised trips. The villain in late position bets for 20, and I assume he has something like a queen and he thinks he has the best hand. He may put me on a draw if I just call. By just calling, I think it increases the chances of him putting more money in the pot. The river comes the 6 of hearts and the opponent bets 25 this time. I choose a raising size of 100, and I am really trying to put pressure on a hand as all the draws miss. I want to make it seem like I'm trying to buy the pot. It doesn't work sadly as he folds, but I think it was a tough spot for him either way. Here I am dealt another very nice looking hand with 7 of hearts, ace of clubs, king of diamonds, king of clubs. And again, I make the mistake of not raising with good hands, but thankfully the player next to me makes it 50 and lots of people call. I probably should still re-raise him even then, but that's beyond the point. The flop comes 3 5s, a very spicy board. I am sitting here with the 3rd nuts. Again, I don't want to scare everyone away, so I check, and it checks around. The turn doesn't matter, but it's an 8 of spades, so now I have the 4th nuts, but I am not really afraid of pocket 8s, so I bet it for 100. Right away, I'm raised to 600, and I am not having fun with this one. In Hold'em, I think it's an easy call, but in Omaha, it's probably a fold. I think I would fold normally, but the raise basically puts me all in. I don't have that much in my stack compared to the others. Here it is a question of how profitable is this call. It isn't really, since I'm not getting a good price, because the bet was so much larger than the pot, so I should fold. But I'll be honest, I was on tilt at this point from losing the quads over a full house earlier, so I called, and he had the rogue 5. So that's twice in one night against the same opponent where I lost basically top full house to quads. Boy, don't I just run great? This one is pretty simple. We are nearing the end of the game and I am the short stack, so any decent hand, I have to go all in. And I get one. Ace of diamonds, queen of clubs is better than I could have ever hoped for, so I shove. Only one player is thinking about calling, and he asks if I have a pair. I try my best not to give anything away, but I tell him that, well, my favorite hand is pocket 3s. And then he shows me his hand, which is pocket 3s. He ends up calling, and we go for a run out, and I lose the 50-50, so today was a pretty rough day as I'm pretty happy with my play, but I got into multiple coolers. There were lots of not so interesting hands where I was slowly amassing chips and playing very well, but when your opponent gets quads and your best hand of the night loses to said quads twice, well, then I guess it's just not your night. Anyways, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video where hopefully I do not take multiple trips yet again to Pound Town. Have a great night.